We hope you don't have cancer, but if you do, this show's for you. The Stupid Cancer Show!
Hey guys, we are back here in the Stupid Cancer Studios, and I'm joined by my incredibly, amazingly dear friend, Dr. Dan Shapiro.
Woo!
And his fabulous miracle daughter, Alex. Dan Shapiro and I have known each other for many, many years now. He was one of the first young adult cancer survivors, we'll get to his story in a minute, that I had ever met. He was an author. It was the first book by a young adult cancer survivor I'd ever read, and we'll get to that book in just a second. And he has spoken at our conferences. He's been on the audio version of the show several times, which you can also check out on our YouTube channel. And just an amazing guy that is so revered, and what you've managed to do in your life because of what you didn't ask to have happen to you is extraordinary. But I'll leave it at that, and I will allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us your quick story. We can go to the book, and the young lady sitting next to you is every reason why our stories and our choices matter.
I would agree with that. Unfortunately, Alex is the most productive thing I've done in my life. Or I guess reproductive would be more
wow, he
more
went
accurate.
there.
He went there. He did. Yeah, so I was diagnosed when I was a junior in college, and it briefly kind of obliterated my life plans. I spent 5 years in and out of treatment.
What did you have?
I had lymphoma, Hodgkin's disease, that was a little tough to get rid of. A couple relapses, bone marrow transplant, relapsed after that. So, did cancer's boot camp. It was not like drive-by, mild. It took about 5 years altogether.
And let's put this in context. This was not in the 21st century. This was in the dark ages.
Back when I was a kid, we didn't have the fancy schmancy immune cancer chemotherapy stuff you got now.
I walked to radiation uphill both ways.
Every day, radiation.
Must fit the radiation. And I got to tell you, like you were able to become a real pioneer in what it meant to share a story, like a real young adult. Why is it different? It's not necessarily better or worse than pediatrics or adult cancer, but what matters most is why it's different, and how you chose to intentionally or unintentionally self-advocate for yourself, specifically in the world of fertility, was kind of pioneering to challenge a system that wasn't aware that this was important to you.
I wish I could say now that some of those struggles I had don't happen to any kids anymore. I would love to be able to say that, but unfortunately, some of the same issues I faced, which was getting treated next to people who were all in their 60s and 70s, the fertility, not hearing about fertility from my physicians. It was actually my mother who happened to be talking to another parent who knew about a urologist who had a sperm bank that led to my saving and freezing sperm, which ultimately...
Hi there.
Anyway,
have we met?
Yeah, that had it had a profound impact on my life. But you're absolutely right to use the word advocating. Like, that was a huge part of the process. Advocating for fertility options, advocating after I'd relapsed to get to see physicians who had alternative new chemotherapy treatments available, advocating with insurance, advocating. And the reason I'm so proud to be your friend is because of what you have done to spread the word nationally to so many folks facing these same challenges now, so that we can learn from one another, stand on one another's shoulders as we try and get over the high wall.
So I mentioned he has a book, and this was one of the first books. You've written several, haven't you?
Yeah,
well,
3.
You're now a published professor, and we can get to how amazing you are, and not just on paper or on
Mostly
LinkedIn.
just on paper.
You're not going to see this, but I'll put a link in the video in the description below. This is called Mom's Marijuana. What year was this published?
2000. That came out in 2001.
Yeah, like I said, one of the first, because I was diagnosed in 96, and I probably spent 4 or 5 years not aware of anything. And then I met like Heidi Adams. Names we can put the link in below. Heidi Adams and the nascent Livestrong
Planet
organization,
Cancer, yeah.
Planet Cancer, and
Right.
I got your book. Probably from Heidi.
Right,
Your,
very
your
possibly.
book was probably on the planetcancer.org website back in the day. Maybe that's how. That probably is. I think we just traced the cord back to the wall. Nice. So what are you doing now, pedagogically and scientifically and research-wise, and being your amazing...
So I'm a vice dean for faculty affairs at the Penn State College of Medicine. So one of the experiences I know you had, that I had, that so many young adults with cancer have, is we face a medical system that's pretty difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
And a lot of physicians who really have no clue what it's like to live with a serious challenge. And so I'm trying to change how we make physicians,
right,
and who those physicians are.
Mm-hmm.
And, setting up both educational systems and then rigorous guardrails so that when those docs don't act the way they ought to,
right,
there's someone there who beneath the veneer of an academic is truly a patient,
yeah,
and thinks like a patient, to get them back in line.
So I have twins. I did bank my sperm as well, and they're not old enough to be put in the awkward place that perhaps Alex is, to know that I have an incredibly awkward sperm banking story where my mother took me to the porn shop to get the materials I needed. Hi, Mom. And went to Reprotech, and it was like, I'll see you in 20. Not awkward. But you're now fully self-aware, unlike my 8-year-old. And I'd love to hear your perspective on, you're doing amazing things. You're a graduate. You're in the real world now.
Yes, I am.
But you have an amazing father, amazing family, and what's it like to understand how important, your existence is as an allegory, but what you are as a human being, who you are as a human being, because of what shouldn't have had to happen actually happened for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this infamous story from when I was 7 and started hearing the word like test tube baby tossed around.
Yeah.
Where I told my whole 2nd grade class that I might not be human because I was made in a laboratory.
Yep.
So I think it was like a little bit confusing for me when I was younger, but I mean, I'm obviously like incredibly grateful that he was an advocate because I exist.
Yes.
But there is something different about being raised by cancer survivors.
Mm-hmm.
So, he was a young adult. My mother had cancer when I was in elementary school. And there's a grit also. And I think they taught me also how to advocate for myself.
Yeah.
Luckily, I haven't been put in that same position. I mean, I'm just slightly older than he was when he got sick, which
Right.
is really wild for me to think about.
Yeah.
But there's like a certain, realizing that when I have ailments, that it could be worse.
Yeah.
There's this certain
Yeah.
the grit, and I'm thankful for that. But I think it gave me a unique perspective, because I'm familiar with the cancer world.
Right. Which is rare.
Yeah.
I mean, going through high school and college, literally what % of your friends and peers had any perspective?
Yeah, very little.
I mean, we're not throwing them under the bus for not having
Oh,
that
yeah,
perspective, but
yeah.
still, it's a forced perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, Dan Shapiro, and are you coming to Denver? If you're bored? So, our annual conference, CancerCon, is happening in April in Denver, and the fabulous Dr. Dan Shapiro is one of our keynote speakers. What will you be sharing with the crowd of 650 people?
650, that's tremendous. I'm going to tell a personal story, and along the way, my goal is to make people laugh so hard that they pee.
Wait, what's the hashtag for that?
Laugh so hard they pee?
Yeah. Piss your cancer pants?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh.
I like that. Very
think you're
quick.
Look what I invented. I just invented something. Well, what would be your takeaway message for, again, like we're here to we make it suck less, try to make it suck less. Obviously, reproductive rights, fertility preservation, understanding that that's a choice. Clearly a massive narrative still these days, and you may be aware we did the first peer-reviewed published study around what % of women felt that they were truly informed about having that choice, and it was an abysmal 13%.
That's terrible.
So I would say the liberty of parenthood the choice of fatherhood and motherhood is something it should be disclosed, and you shouldn't necessarily have this sort of innate, like audacity built in you to be the one person that can have that sort of proactive discussion. So, what's your big takeaway? What do you want people to learn? Is it really just know yourself, advocate, or if you're not? It's a long question. If you're not a self-advocating person by default, how can you understand what that looks like?
It's incredibly hard to advocate for yourself when you're going through this experience, right? You're scared, you're distracted, you're trying to keep the rest of your life going. It's not like other challenges stop, like trying to stay in school or trying to have a job or dealing with all the insurance challenges. And at the midst of that, trying to have to advocate for yourself is, it feels nearly impossible, which is why Stupid Cancer is so important. I think my main takeaway has to do with what didn't exist when I was going through the experience and what didn't exist for you either, which is to use organizations like Stupid Cancer to learn from the wisdom of the other kids. I call them kids now because you're kids to me.
Because I'm old. I'm very old.
Crazy kids.
But it's to learn from the folks that have paved the road, before you. You don't have to go back to, the 90s, the early 90s to benefit, but just, like using the app, the Stupid Cancer app, coming to the conference, and just having an open enough mind to hear what other people are doing, because there's a lot of innovations that we generate as young adults.
Right.
We're smart, we're resilient, we've got the grit Alex talked about, and there's a lot to learn. The other piece, there's a couple other little points. They're more minor, but one is, Alex talked about grit. The reality is I certainly had some grit to survive a couple relapses, but I had dark, difficult times too.
Of course.
And that is a natural part of the experience, and to believe that just because you're not fighting hard every single day, that there's some deficit in you, I'd say that's a take home. You don't have to fight every day to have grit.
Yeah, give yourself permission to just accept the pain. Step into the pain.
And some days you're going to feel down and upset and lost and bewildered, and that's a natural part of the experience, and you give yourself permission to go through that. And as I said, the other piece is to be willing to tolerate hearing other people's experiences enough. It's always a little scary because you're always worried someone else is going to go,
"Oh, my Uncle Louis had that. He died in 5 minutes. It was terrible."
At 95 years old.
He had 3 minutes and it was over. They gave him 3 minutes to live. Can you believe? He lasted 4.
That
But
sounds like Jon Stewart. I just
Sorry.
got to say that sounds just like Jon Stewart.
a willingness to tolerate hearing other people's experiences so that you can harvest the wisdom and innovations that they've generated. The reality is we would not have had Alex, looking at her longingly, if we hadn't learned about sperm banking from another patient.
Yep.
So, and that's why your organization is so important. That's why I'm delighted to know you, and so
Alex,
proud to be
any
your friend.
final comments to your fellow 20-something peers? Did I stump you?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Put you
That's
on
the first
spot?
time this has ever happened.
Wow.
I've never
Won
seen this.
something.
Well, I'm going to write
That's
down
my
the time and
prize.
date.
Well, again, these are our fabulous drive-bys here on the Stupid Cancer Show, and I can't thank you enough for your willingness to take time out of your New York City trip to sit down with me. He'll be at CancerCon. What's the website? What's the best way for people to read more about you?
Oh, drdanshapiro.org. It's pretty easy to find me.
Or epicbeer.net.
I don't know if you can hear that.
Well, there you have it, folks. Dr. Dan Shapiro, his incredibly inspiring and miracle daughter, Alex. And you have another daughter as well.
Yes, Abigail, also a product of Sperm Bank in 1987.
That's why
So
we're
there you have it.
wise.
Powdered family? On that note, thanks for joining us.
Woo!
We'll put all the links below in the comments and the sections and the descriptions and words that I don't know yet because this is a new YouTube channel. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Hey guys, thank you for watching this episode of the Stupid Cancer Show. We are here to make young adult cancer suck a whole lot less. For more information about us, visit stupidcancer.org. Subscribe below to this channel to get notifications of all the new episodes we're going to be posting this year. And don't forget about visiting us on all of our social channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Medium, Vimeo, whatnot. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.